Greetings, greetings, greetings. Greetings, you are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault. Episode 783, we think we're at right now. Well, yeah, 93, actually 793. B language for trust. Definitely excited about this episode. Dealing with some trustees the other day and just dealing with trustees in general on a regular basis. You run into a lot of the same things redundancy wise, and so we've did our best to do episodes about the language, and this is an episode just really sharing with trustees that you have to be the language, ladies and gentlemen. You have to be the language that we're speaking, and this is probably the downfall of our current society is that if you were to ask them what language we're speaking, they couldn't really tell you the etymology of the words that we're speaking, and for that reason, it could be a rather challenging, cumbersome environment in society because society is built on the language, and the language that we're speaking most of the time in business, the business language is legalese. It's in a legal dictionary. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm in business. I'm in business." Everybody says they're in business. Well, how are you in business but you don't know the business language? The business language is legalese. We should be able to clearly identify that in business in general. There's no way around it. It's like saying, "Well, if you have a business, who's going to defend the business?" Well, you would be able to defend the business if you truly knew the business language. You're in business, but do you know the language for your business? And the way that you learn the language for trusteeship or the business language for trust or the business language in general is by having a legal dictionary, a legal dictionary. And this could be a very unknown thing. It is not popular because, somebody would say, "Man, you try to tell me that I don't know the language then." For the most part, you don't. You have to know the legal definitions of the words. Why? Because you're in society. Don't you got a legal name? How you operate now here? How operate now here? Are you operating through a legal name? "Oh man, Trust Christian, I got a legal name. I'm operating through a legal name," but you don't know legalese. And so Trust Christian is here to say, hey, sure, we went through public school. That's always going to be our excuse. "Oh man, we went through public school, Trust Christian. They didn't give us all the tools. I thought I had a first class education in America." Yeah, you did. Into working for somebody, working for the Rockefeller system. "I don't want to hear that, Trust Christian. I just want to live my life on ignorant mode. I just want to live my life on bliss mode." Go ahead. For the rest of you all that say, "Oh man, Trust Christian, I'm not going to be a minor. I'm going to become a majority. I'm not going to be a minor in mindset. I'm not going to be a minor legally because I don't know what the word minor means legally. So I'm going to study the word minor and majority in legal terms, not in the, oh yeah, the majority is more numbers and the minor is less numbers." That has nothing to do with legal. The numbers are not anything related for legal. When you talk about majority and minority, if you were to go look up what's a minority and what's a majority in legal terms, it has nothing to do with numbers. But people say, "Oh yeah, Trust Christian, I don't know if I want to become a better person and learn trusteeship," and that's why you're not going to be in trusteeship. But for the ones of you all that are engaged in this sector, that are engaging in generational wealth, I'm a generational wealther. How are you going to be able to communicate with the lawyers, the attorneys, anybody for that matter, when it comes to legal matters for the entity if you don't know legalese? That's why the population feels the way they feel. That's why they feel like a victim, because they don't understand majority and minority thought process. I'm not a minority. I'm not a part of the smaller race or whatever that is. It has nothing to do with that. Because an infant can be a trustee. So you could be an infant in mindset and still be a trustee. B language for trust. You got to become the language. We have to be the language that we're speaking. And a lot of people are not the language that they're speaking. We know of the language that we're speaking. Many people know of the language. Oh yeah, I'm speaking English. Sure, you're speaking English. Are you speaking the proper English, or are you speaking, what you would consider American English? I mean, it's so many ways to go about it. Oh, Trust Christian, all right, we're not speaking proper English. We're not speaking the England English, and it still has nothing to do with that, because it's about the legal dictionary, getting the proper legal dictionary, making sure you understand the language of business. That's what it is, Trust Christian? 100%. Understanding the language of business for trust. That's in the legal dictionary. A lot of trustees come to us and they don't know about it. They get the legal dictionary and they get going. Your trustee earlier asked us today, Trust Christian, where should I start in the legal dictionary? You should start with the everyday things that you're dealing with. If you're dealing with child support, if you're dealing with real estate, if you're dealing with having a business, if you have a business, do you know what these terms mean? Some people say, "Oh, Trust Christian, I don't care. I'm just gonna pay taxes and die." That's for some. And then there are the others of you all that we know that reach out to the phone and say, Trust Christian, I know it's more to this. And now we're talking about it. Now we're training on it. B language for trust definitely is that. It definitely is a language that says, hey, you know, you're always gonna. It's a tough thing for people to hear because they're like, oh man, Trust Christian, do I really have to learn something? Do I really have to learn something? Do I have to keep learning in trusteeship? And you do. You have to learn in trusteeship the language. I want to be a generational wealthier. So you think you become a generational wealthier without learning the language? And we're going to share something with you. If you don't learn the language, you're a beneficiary. You're not a trustee. Shout out to all the trustees. Shout out to all the beneficiaries. Once again, if you don't learn the language of trusteeship, the language of trust through a legal dictionary, you most likely are a beneficiary. What benefit do you, what do you need to learn trusteeship for? What do you need to learn language for if all you're going to do is be a benefactor of it? You're not going to be a person that is dealing with the workings of it. A beneficiary doesn't deal with the worker, and they just benefit. Some people say, well, can I be the beneficiary and the trustee? That's the point. You got to learn the language so you know the difference between being a beneficiary and the trustee. But I got to trust Christian. But I'm over here talking about personal stuff all the time. I'm talking about personal stuff. It's always personal. It's like, what are you talking about, ladies and gentlemen? It's always business. It's never personal. Family estate is never personal. It's always business. It's the business language for trust. The legal dictionary is the business language for trust. How do you learn how to drive the car if you don't read the manual? How you gonna know what the car can do if you don't read the manual? How do we know the manual for operating in this jurisdiction if we don't read the manual? Oh, Trust Christian, I'm spending so much time watching Netflix and so many other unimportant things that, the thing that actually is pretty much helping me stay in line with what I'm doing. Did you spend time? Did you invest time? Because we encourage our trustees to build their relationships. Build the relationship with the legal people in your area. Build the relationship with these people. Did you build a relationship with any legal people? Oh man, you got all these personal injury lawyers, personal injury attorneys out here. A PA. Yeah, some people don't even know what that means at the end of their name. Oh, I'm a PA. I'm a PA. All right, we're gonna go to the internet. What does PA after an attorney's name mean? Professional association? What are they? Yeah. For example, X, Y, and Z. We're a professional association, or we're a personal injury attorney. Okay, great. You guys are a personal injury attorney or professional association. That doesn't mean that you're a real estate attorney. That doesn't mean you're an everything attorney. Some people just focus specifically on personal injury. So when you're out as a trustee, looking to find somebody to speak the language of trusteeship, you got to talk to a trustee, a legal trustee, an attorney that's a trustee, not just I'm an attorney, so I can talk to you about trust. No, they can't, and we gonna go ahead and tell you. And if y'all want to believe it, go find out the hard way. But Trust Christian gonna sit here and tell you. We can sit in front of any attorney and have a conversation because that's what you're groomed into through trustee training. You're groomed into being able to have conversations with bankers, with accountants, with attorneys. Why? Because these are the people that are a part of your team as a trustee of the trust. So you learn the language so you can communicate with them properly. That's that. You learn the language so you can communicate with them properly. So they're not speaking over your head. So they're not lying to you, telling you, blowing smoke up your behind, talking about, oh yeah, I can't do this. What do you mean? What do you mean you can't do it? This is what the mentors told us. If they say they can't do it, that's when you're supposed to do it. That's the hardest piece of advice you're gonna ever. One of the hardest pieces of advice you're gonna hear. Why? Because the average person, they disappointed, man. They don't want to hear stuff like that. They don't want to go against the attorney's advice. So you say, okay, Trust Christian, how are you taking the attorney's advice if they're saying you can't do it and you still try to do it? Well, the question isn't necessarily can you do it. The question is it legal or is it not legal? They didn't tell you that it was illegal. They just told you couldn't do it. Y'all want to go there? Trust Christian has that type of experience where we're saying, telling you, you're going to run into attorneys that tell you you can't do something, but you have to have the wherewithal to ask them, is that legal or illegal? Because there's going to be times where they tell you you can't do something and it's going to be perfectly legal. They just too lazy to go do the work. They don't want to do the work. They don't know how to do the work. Fair enough. But they're not going to tell you they don't know how to do the work. Because the attorney is supposed to make money, correct? Right. Off of doing work. Now, if you got a few altruistic attorneys out here that, oh, yeah, I'm going to pass you along to this good guy. I'm not going to take your money. I'm not going to tell you can't do it. I'm just going to share with you that I don't know how to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I'm going to share someone with you that could possibly help you out or point you in the right direction. Trust Christian, we were trained to find out if it's legal or illegal, and that's all we care about. Really? Yep. For sure. There are many attorneys that'll say, oh yeah, Trust Christian, these attorneys, they weren't aggressive or they gypped me out my money. Man, the mentors told us, find attorneys you can't afford. Why is that so hard to believe? Because they didn't really think their family estate was going to be big. They didn't know. Okay, so you say, oh, I'm moving in generational wealth. You're going to go in generational wealth, right? Right. Who are the attorneys, top 20, top 100 attorneys in the United States for family estates right now? Do you know who they are? Are you inquiring about them? Are you emailing them? Are you finding that out? Are you finding that out? Oh man, Trust Christian, I didn't even think about that. So we appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listen to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listen to replay. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. If you want to get consultation, go to Trustee Training. We've been available to serve for years now. We still make it a time to set aside time for people that they do have some questions and they feel like the information is above their heads, or they feel like they have some questions or they need some help. And it varies. We're excited to work with various different families. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But it's not ever anything overly specific. Could be something specific. Could be just something you want to generally find out. So we make it a point to be present for Trust Christian. A lot of people, if y'all listen to this episode, y'all consider yourselves African indigenous descent people. Trust Christian, we make it a point to be there for you guys. So, peace and joy.